Alright, hello, welcome everybody to Ever Felt Like This, Australia's one and lonely Round the Twist episode recap podcast analysis structure dive.
That is an accurate description of what we do.
Yeah, it's interesting watching, everyone calls everything a deep dive these days. Which I think is just a way of saying, you're going to do something without doing any research. You know? You're going to do a deep dive, but you're not going to dive into anything else. You're not going to look anything up or do any other work, you know. And look, that's fair.
I'd rather to see us as a deep dish. You know, we're like a deep dish pizza. We're layered.
The sauce is on the top.
Sauce is on the top. There's at least 5 kinds of meat.
I am mostly cheese. That is.
I ate nothing but cheese and drank beer for a day.
Are you German?
At this point, yes.
Yeah, now you are.
And let me tell you,
Yeah,
that was a fun day.
No, I gotta figure that's. There's a lot of clash in that combo. You know,
But it was Asahi.
See, a Japanese beer with cheese is just madness.
We were watching a Japanese show.
Okay.
So I wanted to feel Japanese, but also have cheese. But yes, anyway, we're like the cheese. This episode alone has led me to believe the last episode will be a Silence of the Lambs type.
I hope
where
so.
the end ends with Bronson hanging himself. I feel it. Esben, deliver.
Yeah, no, someone convinces Bronson to swallow his own tongue. I mean, yeah, so this episode was directed by Esben Storm, and it does kind of show. There is, by the end, there is a sophistication to the episode that I think really shows through in the direction, and just the sort of, the balancing of the elements.
Because
that you
honestly,
get at the very end.
I usually smoke before these things, so I can take the episode into its fullest. And it was a sensory experience today. Usually I focus on what the characters say, things like that. But this had me looking at the camera shots, at the music choices.
You were feeling the episode.
It was crazy. I didn't think I'd want to cinematically break down around the twist episode, but this one was good.
This is what happens when you you can be sophisticated with children's stuff. You don't need to be stupid.
Exactly.
And this episode is called Toy Love, which I will say these days is a slightly unfortunate title.
Yeah.
I feel that would be, my version of this would just, every single title would be one of those concepts taken to its extreme. Mm-hmm. Something that is clearly just screamingly filthy, but not technically.
Yeah.
And so the intro for this one is just a silhouette pile of dolls. And these are op shop dolls. Those kind of grandma dolls. Dolls you just don't really see these days.
Yeah.
They're not these days. Oh, what's wild? In 50 years, those dolls will be brats.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think about, here's this old-timey Victorian doll, but it's not, it's like a Bratz doll.
A Bratz doll, yeah.
Because that's coming. And so it zooms in on one of the dolls, and it's one of those old-timey
It's a very good shot, because it actually zooms in as it's going, so the pile gets smaller as you focus towards the doll.
The pile's on like a lazy Susan.
And before this, I noticed that in the background, the text is slowly rotating out from the background.
Yeah.
Into the foreground, it does a loop.
Yeah.
As we center on the doll, and the doll's eyes open.
The funny part about it is, though, it's you can see by the doll, because there are the dolls where the eyes would open.
Yeah.
And you could see that, you could see the gap. This is just a doll that, the eyes open the exact same way Wesley Snipes' eyes open in that Blade section.
Yeah.
It's just special effects because I don't know, they didn't have the eye-opening doll ready for this bit.
Yeah.
Because the doll's eyes do when you actually see the doll in the episode, it is that kind of doll with the fucking thing. So I don't know what happened there.
Just feel they didn't want to spend the money for the intro. I guess.
Like Wesley Snipes, the doll just refused to cooperate with the director. That's I'm guessing that's what happened here.
So yeah, it's a the Toy Love appears above it. It rotates in, and it's in this red sort of like Victorian font.
Yeah. And it's like got the creepy doll music. It's a creepy doll episode.
Yeah.
I wrote now like probably a living doll episode. I said probably only because the body swap episode was just not a body swap episode. So now I'm just a little unsure,
So this episode starts with,
like Tony and Pete like bringing breakfast in, and
they're coming down, and Tony yells at Bronson because Bronson's picking his nose at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
Which
to the knuckle.
Which is the basis of the B story of this episode.
Yeah.
So we get a little intro there. Yeah.
And so he's just like, Bronson, and he's just like fucking in there deep. Faye comes downstairs going about how, every corner of this lighthouse is filled with rubbish, and Tony goes, "You're right, it's time for a big clean." And then the kids make a joke about like throwing Tony out because he's also old garbage. That's actually a solid kids on dad joke.
Absolutely.
Like that was well written and well delivered, and not the kind of joke you're used to with this show where it's just like, oh yeah, it's just a big cringe joke. It was like, oh yeah, we'll put that out too. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, so Linda's still pining over Anthony because having been read from the Viking Book of Love,
fucking
the
continuity.
previous
Look
episode.
at that.
So she's doing that.
Yeah, and then so it's like, all right, let's all throw crap out. So everyone walks outside with a box, and then we get a moment of Linda just screaming, "Michael!"
Wait, no, before that, like Bronson spies super glue. Because
before that,
they
that's
start,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
So they start throwing it out, and nearly every person kind of spots something in the pile that like is nostalgic to them or interesting.
They
to them.
don't want to actually throw out.
Yeah, Bronson sees like crazy like super glue, like this one the TV super glue where it's so fantastical,
It's just one, in like a non-branded, like a crunched up fucking tube.
Yeah, but then Linda just out of nowhere goes, "Michael!" It's like the liftoff from the fucking Genesis game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it is basically that, and it's funny because then she looks at like what I can only describe as one of the most horrifying kit bash Michael Jackson dolls I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, no, this thing was not official.
No, because I mean, I'm gonna say there might have been a talking Michael Jackson doll. Like, I'd be surprised if there weren't, honestly. But like, I don't remember one, and this is very clearly like a fucking slightly modified Ken doll in a way that is just horrifying.
Oh, it's not good.
And like we this is the second element of like really good unintentional comedy of this episode, is just the idea of like a Michael Jackson doll that kids would love.
Yeah. So she picks it up and like tries to make it speak, but its voice box fizzles out.
Yeah. And then Bronson goes, "Oh, the batteries must be flat," and then offers to do some plastic surgery with the super glue that he just found. Because the nose is broken off the Michael Jackson doll.
The nose and the chin.
And then under Michael,
there is another doll. It's a little girl dolly wearing a like pink outfit.
The haunted doll archetype, I think. Is
yeah, and the shot they have of this thing, just like it's like shot above it, just looking down, and they just linger on a little too long.
It's
and on purpose.
Yeah,
and we're setting a pace already, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and they like Tony picks it up, and the doll's name was Veronique, and Linda used to love it, and it was a talking doll as well, and it used to say "cuddle me"
all the time. It used to give them trouble, Tony says.
Yeah, and like they throw the doll into the pile, and I think because they do change the doll face a couple of times.
They do.
I'm pretty sure this was the first time you see that, where the face is like sad
the doll
now.
looks really sad.
Yeah. And then we get to the bullies with the Viking Book of Love.
Yeah, and they're talking about and Rabbit is warning them. He's like, "Look, guys, don't screw with this book. I read a poem to old Nell, and she went crazy for me."
I know, and then they all start teasing him.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is like flawless bully behavior. Just, and then it's like, "Oh, why don't you make out with her? Go on, Rabbit." Like, just giving him shit.
So yeah, like, Gribbs wants to use the book, but he says, "Look, I'm not stupid." He's like, "I'm gonna have someone else read it."
See, that was the part that confused me, because it's like, he mustn't, like, does he not understand how the fucking book works? Because, like, what does his plan...
I didn't understand that either.
What does his plan meant to have accomplished? I mean, I can understand it maybe, like, causing...
Did he think that Linda was going to be in love with him?
Yeah, because, like, even... This is what happens when you don't pay attention to Rabbit's molestation stories, is you don't really understand how the Viking Book of Love works, and then you wind up basically...
Rabbit is a survivor. He survived the Nell sex allegations of 1996.
Nell fucking just going in and, you know, just grabbing him twixt thumb and forefinger.
So yeah, and then we see Linda walking by. She's still talking about Anthony, of course.
Yeah.
And then Grib spies her and like starts laughing, and they're all like, "Oh, good idea."
Yeah, like he's got some kind of plan, and like, you know, because every fictional universe is one of like beautiful thematic connection, poetry is being, and like Shakespeare is being discussed in English class today. And
I love it because the intro shot is Linda pining over Anthony, and Anthony has ego. Has decided, you know what? I'm a ladies' man. Because Linda loves, and he's dressed like Steve Jobs.
He's a bit, yeah.
And he's chuffed. Bro is chuffed that Linda is like in love with him, and he is using this while he can.
Yeah, but like I feel like he's doing that thing. He's using it for just like stray self-esteem, which I suppose is
he also really likes Linda.
Yeah, but you
he
know,
got
like
too
there's
cocky
just
with
there's
the
it's less him being happy she's in love with him, and more like now he feels like a ladies' man kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm kind of curious now to find like wherever the kid who played fucking Anthony wound up, because he's able to move his face like one of those 90s animatronics. But like a good 90s animatronic, you know, like the ones they used in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Where they have like a really complex remote control to like get the face. Because just bits of his face move in ways that are just not right. Like, you know, like how they talk about facial movements and how, you know, you move one bit of the eyebrow, another bit moves, and you can tell what expression someone's making.
He's like a Muppet.
Yeah. With him, just bits move independently, and you can't tell what the rest of it should be doing.
There was 5 puppeteers that had to puppet Anthony.
Yeah. It's like fucking...
ABC don't want you to know they had a real boy.
Just like...
He's alive!
15 sticks and some silicone. Like, there's just sticks in there moving around individually.
It broke out and gained sentience, and now it runs the ABC.
Perfectly solid children's programming director, to be honest.
EC is the director of photography.
Don't argue with the fucking scary plastic face, okay? It green-lit Bluey, and look where that went, you know?
So yeah, Snapper is like talking about poetry and stuff.
And yeah, so fucking Gribble's plan is like, he raises, I've been reading a poetry book, and, you know, maybe like Linda could read from it, and we could, you know, fucking learn about poetry that way. And of course, you know, Snapper is delighted.
Because he wanted someone that he's talking about like the quality of voice, and you know, like, basically saying we don't want to hear it from you, Snapper.
Yeah, and then so
I think Snapper should always read poetry. I love his embellished voice.
It's so weird that he's basically Pops from Regular Show.
It's the best.
But like with a regular sized head.
Yeah. So Snapper thinks it's a fantastic idea because he's like, wait a second.
The
you don't
kids
like
give a shit, yeah.
You don't like school stuff? He's like, I'm reaching them. You're reaching them, Snapper. You're reaching them. So yeah, he agreed. And Linda's like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. He's like, nonsense, Linda. You're a woman. Do what I tell you. And no, but he's
backhands her.
He's like, no, he just says, come on, Linda. It's a bit of poetry. And it's like, you're also in school. You kind of have to do these things.
Yeah, and like it's very clearly the Viking Book of Love, but like somehow in between then and now, like Gribble's got like a fucking homemade crepe paper cover on it.
It's insane.
So like you can't tell. Like, so she just opens the book and then...
Now this is the part that really got me, because she starts reading from it.
Yeah.
And it hits Gribbs nearly straight away.
Yeah.
What are the implications of that? Because, like, there's more than one person in the room. He wasn't the closest person to her.
Yeah, like, even physically. And, like, maybe it was because eye contact or something. Like, it might have been, like, she was still looking at Gribble because Gribble was, like, making noise. Or something. But this is, because this is the bit that I'm just, like, was she expecting it to make, like... Snapper, was he expecting it to make Snapper fall over with her or something? And then, you know,
I was hoping that would happen because then it would recreate my ninth grade music class where a kid got touched.
Was that the name of the musical? A kid got touched? They don't let schools do that production anymore.
No.
That was one of those really off-Broadway 70s things.
Yeah.
Joseph
Gribbs
got touched.
falls in love straight away.
Yeah, and again, like, what was... was the goal to get Linda to fall in love with him? Or was it just to cause trouble generally? It's just never
cause
really...
trouble generally, I feel.
Yeah, like, I kind of get causing trouble generally, but this is the one part of the story that really needed some extra fucking... Just a sentence.
Yeah.
To give us some closure on what the fuck was the plan here.
We get closure on Anthony pretty quickly because he tries to like talk up. Oh, maybe I should wear with my glasses off.
Yeah.
And Linda's just like, do whatever you want. You're still gonna look like a dog.
Yeah.
And then Anthony's like, oh wait.
It's funny because like the spell wears off within like 3 words. Like the second, Linda says about 3 words.
Yeah.
And it starts to transfer onto Gribble.
Yep.
The spell wears off of Linda, and she figures out, hey, this is my book, and then. I think Snapper confiscates
He does. He's like, I'll be taking this.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Snapper and the Book of Love.
Snapper and the Book of Love sounds like a good time. That should be a spin-off series. Round the Twist presents Snapper and the Book of Love.
That'll be some fan fiction.
Hesbon Storm's rolling in his grave right now. He's dead, right?
I think so, yeah.
I believe so.
So, now, like, after the year, you look up Esbon Storm's life status.
Yeah, he
We
died,
cut back-
died in 2011.
We cut back to the lighthouse, and Linda's talking about how unpleasant Gribble is, and then Faye talks about how Tony loves her, and then Gribble shows up at the house to help. And then, there's a little bit of doll music.
I think his wife's alive. We could harass her. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You were right to do so. I think that's really...
That's how this series should end. Us just harassing people involved.
that's just that's the podcast credo. I think his wife's alive. We should harass her. Like that's just that sums up this medium of fucking media so perfectly. Hey, his wife's alive. Let's harass her.
She worked on Reckless Kelly. She was costume and makeup.
Oh God. Oh, Reckless Kelly. Fucking Jesus. Yahoo Serious would have made a good Joker.
Oh, holy shit.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, God. Okay. So, dolls under a pile of garbage. Next morning, we have this just single basic
Gribbs
shot.
also going on about how it's good she's not a hoarder. Because he's just spewing love at her.
Yeah, he's just fawning over everything Linda does is good and true and wonderful. And we get so now we've got this one shot. It's a montage of everyone's slowly just going outside, looking through the pile, and then taking stuff back inside. Which starts
It's fantastic.
Yeah, the first thing Tony does is walk outside in his overalls, pick up a weird, scary clown doll, and then just take the whole box inside. And then we get this sped up footage.
That's Margaret Thatcher, the cum snatcher. It's his special doll. But yeah, we get everyone taking their stuff back in. And for one thing, I noticed Faye did not bring anything back in. Faye had not put anything out there, that treacherous bitch. She set this whole thing up with
to get more space.
Damn, these kids have everything here, and Tony's shit is everywhere. But Faye, I ask you this. Throughout this whole series, we have not seen any of your shit.
I bet she still probably has her old house or flat.
I think Tony made her out of clay.
Doesn't remember life before Port Noranda.
Yeah, so they're all bringing that, and then all that's left is the doll,
just sitting in the dirt.
And it's creepy because it's purposely being left there.
Yeah, just sitting in the fucking dirt. I as much as because I go through the fucking purge and shit every now and again, and it's I'm never just gonna leave a single item on the ground like that. It's that's either going in the bin or it's going in the fucking in some kind of storage thing so I can keep the fucker. But because I have basically a tub of all right, I don't want to throw this away, but also I don't really have any use for it.
Yeah.
So it just goes in a tub, and creepy fucking Victorian dolls fit in tubs.
Absolutely.
I know this for a fact.
Absolutely. So the doll says, "Cuddle me."
Yeah, it's the first time we get to hear the doll say, "Cuddle me," and it is somewhat insistent. I'm not sure if those old-timey dolls could really talk. I know that the eyeball thing was relatively easy, and that was an early thing. I'm trying to think of when the earliest talking doll would have been, but I don't think it would have been like... I'd be surprised if it were pre-war.
Yeah.
It feels like a post-50s thing. Like, there might have been some weird fucking way you'd have had, like... Because I know that the basic way a record works can be done with, like, just, you know, some sticks. But, like, I just don't know if anyone would have bothered to do that for, like, a doll.
The doll opens its eyes, and the eyes are red now and slightly angry.
It's upset that it's been left in the dirt. And you know what? That's fair. I'd be a little upset, too. I'm going to look up first talking doll, because now I'm really curious.
Then Faye comes out, and the doll is gone. She's come to put a box down. She's finally got some shit. And then notice no one else has, so she goes, oh, and then just brings it back inside.
Ah!
When was the first talking doll?
All right, now I don't think this would have been like, oh, holy shit. All right, so it didn't exactly sell very well. It was Edison's phonograph doll.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was developed by like fucking Edison in like legit 1877. But it was like a 22-inch doll, and it had like a tiny phonograph inside.
That's crazy.
But it didn't sell very well.
Can phonographs play records?
Yeah, well it's the same. Yeah, it's the same principle. So, but it's really
I want to
strange.
make it play Down with the Sickness.
I'm 100% sure you could do that. It's really like it kind of weirds me out a little bit. So like, you know, they used to do it with wax. Basically, if you record the physical vibrations of like, you know, a sound, and the thing translates those physical vibrations onto a wax cylinder, if you run the fucking thing through the wax cylinder with a fucking, you know, some kind of a tube to amplify it, you just hear that shit back.
Blah.
Yeah, and so like, this was a doll. You had to crank a handle. It played like it sung a nursery rhyme. So it didn't just say like cuddle me, but it would sing a nursery rhyme. And you had to crank a handle, and it was like a ring-shaped wax record, and it wore out really quickly, and it also warped, and so it was creepy. And literally, like, many children and some adults reportedly found the dolls and recordings frightening. And Edison himself referred to the dolls as his little monsters, which is just fantastic.
I see you, Edison.
So that's great. That really could have been like a fucking creepy little cuddle me doll. Because I'm pretty sure after that, you know, getting it to be a pull string as opposed to a crank, that's just, you know, that's some relatively simple engineering. You know, creepy little fucking doll.
And finally, we get some more light on this bee story. Because Tony, throughout this whole episode, has been yelling at Bronson not to pick his nose. And he's like, don't pick your nose, Bronson. He's like, don't do it, blah, blah, blah. And Bronson's like, I'm not going to do that. It's glue. He's got glue in his fingers. He's like, look how sticky it is.
Yeah, he's in the shed putting together a model plane.
Yeah.
With the super glue that he found. And then within, like...
I love it because, like, Tony leans down to him and he goes, make sure you don't pick your nose, Bronson, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I won't. And then as soon as Tony gets up and walks out, he just goes, blap.
Yeah.
And shoves it straight up. And immediately his eyes go, oh.
The good, like, because every little kid thinks glue works like this. And it does. But few little children know just how quickly you shed skin.
Oh.
And so that's the thing that keeps these glue stories from ever really getting out of hand in real life.
Yeah.
Is because, like, you can glue your finger to your nose.
Yeah.
But it'll be there for, like, 5 minutes until you start sweating or until the skin comes off.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Bronson's B story chucking along. And now we get probably my most... I don't like this scene. Yeah. Because we cut to Linda's bedroom, and she's obviously taking her stuff back in. And she's getting ready for bed. And the Michael doll is on her bedside table. To which she picks it up, goes, good night, kisses the Michael Jackson doll, and then proceeds to sleep with it.
It's a grubby looking doll, like, is the thing. Like, that's the part of it. It's just, it doesn't look like an actual toy or a doll of Michael Jackson or a figure of Michael Jackson that like has been left out or something. It
looks like a Michael Jackson figure you would buy at the tobacconist.
That's such a specific thing, but I get it. Like, it's very much not, absolutely doesn't own the license, and it's technically not Michael Jackson. Like, it's McHale Jackson or something, you know? It's just distinct enough to not get you in trouble, but to be horrifyingly creepy looking. And so, yeah, now we get our Esmond Storm would like to have directed a horror anthology series moment of, like, you know, it's night and we hear the doll go, cuddle me. And again, it's a little bit more demanding. You know, Linda wakes up terrified, looking around, cuddle me. You know, get some solid shots and some nice little speedy zooms. And then she sort of pokes her head out of her door and, you know, looks around and just assumes it's Bronson fucking with her, which...
Yeah, because she's like... She asks if it's Bronson. She's like, Bron, is that you? To which the doll takes that opportunity to get in.
It's interesting because you sort of... The way this is filmed is remarkably good. Because you hear, like, of, you know, the tiny little feet, and you sort of see a blur.
You see a blur, yeah, that looks very doll-like.
Yeah, I like, it was either just filmed really quickly and, like, reasonably successful with what they were aimed to do, or it could have even just been, like, the fucking wig and the dress on, like, a stick getting ripped past really fucking fast. But it works really well to give the viewer a sense that you've sort of seen something. That you can use context to compute is what you saw, but if you just rely purely on the visual data, you'd be like not sure you even saw something. And that's kind of a tough balance to strike, and it's also a hard thing in any kind of killer doll story because there is legitimately zero way that I have at least seen to make a little doll running around not look fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, none of them have fucking pulled it off. Like, it's one of the main reasons why fucking Chucky became a comedy bit pretty quick. And, like, there's one that took itself quite seriously called, I can't even remember the name of the bit, but it was a telemovie called Trilogy of Terror. And it's what the fucking Evil Krusty doll episode is actually based on. Because it came out the same year as Child's Play. So it wasn't based on Child's Play, it was based on this other fucking thing. And it's about this fucking little, you know, goblin doll from, like, some African tribe that, like, you know, kills a lady. And it's based on a short story. And the short story works because it can just describe things in ways where you're not exactly picturing it. A show doesn't work because if you want to see a little doll run across the ground, it's a, you know, a doll on a stick going, and it just looks fucking stupid. Like, there's no way to get it to not look fucking stupid. I have never seen, and, like, there's a strange amount of tiny little monster shit happened in, like, the fucking 80s, because there's this shit, there's the fucking, the Ghoulies, there's, like, the Gate had funny little fucking nude demon, and they're all just tiny, and I don't quite know why this kicked off the way it did, that there's enough, like, fucking Puppet Master, like, and again, Puppet Master became fucking comedy pretty quickly, because, again...
Yeah.
Like, just imagine putting any stupid shitty, like, imagine a fucking, you know, what are those bobblehead things that everybody hates? Yeah, just that
pop
on a
vinyls.
Yeah, a pop vinyl on a stick, and you set the camera up so you can't see me laying on my back, but I'm just making it go forward, going, and that's supposed to be scary. In 0 universes, and I have watched all of these movies. I have seen every single tiny little monster fucking thing that I think exists.
Okay, question is why? What's your fascination with them?
Tiny little monster thing.
Excellent. That's the answer I wanted.
Because, like, when I was
little green
ghouls. Because when I was a little kid, like, you'd see ghoulies in the video store, and you'd be like, "Oh, well, that's scary. Look at that. You know, that one's in a toilet. That might get me." And then you watch the movie, and you're like, "I was scared of that when I was a child, and now I'm just annoyed. Like, this is the stupidest. This is genuinely the stupidest thing I've ever seen." And Ghoulies knows that because Ghoulies 3 is Ghoulies 3. Ghoulies go to college.
Ghoulies Go to College is a masterpiece.
They go to college. The Ghoulies
Go to college.
The Ghoulies.
The Ghoulies.
The Ghoulage.
We need to see if we can get the license for Ghoulies. I want to make another one.
I'm not even sure you couldn't. Critters, there's another one. Critters is slightly more successful because they go like an animal route. But even then, it's like a fucking wig with teeth.
Yeah.
And they go, and then that's it's, they all do it. Yeah. Like the most successful ones kind of use claymation because it gives them this kind of funny gait.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
at a certain point, all of them boil down to pop it on a stick. That's all they fucking got. And even today, you got like, I got CG and shit, so what? Still a little, yeah. It's still going to be small, and it's going to have tiny little legs, and it's going to go, and that's all it's fucking got going for it, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
And so you've got to, if you're ever going to film, you have to film around it. You have to show the effects of the fear as opposed to the fucking stupid doll on a stick. Because doll on stick is never going to be fucking scary. It's like those little T-Rex heads you got from the show bags.
Oh, I love those things.
Yeah, you just pinch your little brother or some shit.
Yeah, so Linda slaps herself because she closes the door and slaps herself because she's like, pull it together, bitch.
Don't be like this in front of Michael.
But then, like, as she's walking back to the bed, you see the doll's feet poking out underneath.
You're not a very good scary doll if you can't hide yourself. That's a Bigfoot hiding somewhere in there. That's a Harry and the Hendersons joke. It's like, you gotta hide Harry, and like, he's behind the fucking curtains, but then there's this big feet sticking out from under the curtains. You can't do that with a doll. A doll should be able to hide itself fairly effectively.
So she tries to go back to sleep, but like, the doll keeps asking for cuddles. As it gets worse and worse, and as she sits up, the doll is at a fever pitch screaming, "Cuddle me," in her face.
Yeah, it's
with
on the bed.
Crazy eyes. To which she screams, and everyone comes running inside of her room. The best part about this is Bronson has got himself jammed in a sweater to cover the fact his hand is super glued up his nose.
Yeah, he's got like this fucking turtleneck cardigan thing kind of pulled half down over his head. So you can kind of just see like, it's a diagonal to cut off the side of the face that has nose finger.
Yeah.
And then so there's just like these two eyes wonky peeking out from under this thing. And honestly, I think that's the best way to frame Bronson.
It's absolutely
fantastic. They really nailed that. This is once again a testament to Esmond Storm's directing.
So because Tony's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Oh, my neck's a bit stiff. I can't get it off. It's stuck." And Faye's like, "Oh, what do you want a hand, Bron?" And he's like, "No, I'll be fine." And so Faye's like, he's a weird autistic kid. Let's move on. Yeah,
like that's honestly the best thing that Faye could do.
Yeah.
She's completely learned how to deal with Bronson, and that is just to fuck it. Like, who cares? Like, something's going to kill him or it won't, and if he's not dead, fine.
Linda's talking to Tony about how, there was a doll, she was here, Veronique, and I love it because she's really scared at this point. She goes to Faye, "You believe me, don't you, Faye?" And Faye goes, "Sure, Linda."
I know the parents do that. We sort of don't believe you. We're just going to say that. And again, like, you've all seen shit.
It's like, don't you be coy with me, bitch.
Yeah, this is like Scully in season 5 of the X-Files being like, "Oh, Mulder, don't be stupid." It's like, no, you've met the vampires and shit. Don't be fucking dumb.
So they console her. She goes back to bed. She's about to get to sleep. She hears "Cuddle me" again, but it's just Pete being a dick to scare her.
That was also that like good direction there. Because this time, we get the real scare and then we get the fake out scare after the real scare.
Yeah.
And it's just Pete being a dipshit.
But then we see that the doll is slightly sticking out of her backpack.
Yeah, the doll has now stuffed itself into her backpack.
And
not sure why.
We go into the next day in breakfast. Bronson still has the sweater on his face. He's complaining that he feels sick and doesn't think he should go to school.
Linda's still trying to like explain the doll thing, and like Faye is,
I love that Tony's tone has completely changed because last night he was reassuring and okay, no, I believe you. And this morning he's like, "Sure, Linda."
Yeah, sure. Talking doll moving around. Gonna get you. Well, like, what's it gonna do?
That's a doll.
Yeah.
And then the door knocks and Gribbs has shown up, offering to carry Linda's books. And Linda's like, "You know what? This motherfucker can carry my books."
Yeah, like it's fine to exploit feelings like that when it's Gribble.
Yeah.
When it's your bully and the idiot has managed to fucking Viking poetry magic himself. Yeah, then you can exploit him. Because fuck him. And he also had you as a robot bringing him drinks earlier. So, Sorry, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, so he's carrying the books and talking about loving and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He gets close behind her and we hear cuddle me because like
The doll's
in the backpack. He thinks it's her. She thinks it's him, I think. Because she turns around and looks at him really weirdly.
They're waiting for the bus.
Oh yeah,
and so they're talking about the Shakespeare assignment.
There's a bunch of other kids there now.
Yeah, the other bullies are there, and like the general secondary cast of kids is sort of hanging out. Gribble offers to he says, "Yeah, Shakespeare's dull. We should do our own play about a sensitive guy who has feelings." While he's like just staring at fucking Linda, getting real like Star Wars Episode 2 vibes. And then like Veronica says, "Cuddle me," and one of the bullies sees it, and then the bullies start playing keep away with like the doll.
And Gribble's like, give it back, and he grabs it, and he's like, he's like, I love the small girl part of you.
Yeah, you still have that in you, and she cares about her things.
She cares about her dolly.
She need not be ashamed.
And Linda's like, I'm not ashamed. I was just like freaked out.
And then she's at like a dumpster near the Lifeline bins, and she's just screaming at the doll.
Yeah.
I think this is another funny part that comes from like the other inspiration for and probably one of the other you can really see lots of it actually of that Simpsons episode, and it was a Twilight Zone episode about a talking doll starring Telly Savalas. And like it's another one of those ones where like rather than be about like the doll being like a physical threat, it keeps saying stuff to Telly Savalas to drive him insane. And so you get notes of that with this, where no one's really believing Linda, and she's clearly getting more and more fucking, nuts about this. And so she's just screaming at a doll in front of a bin. And then she throws it into the dumpster, and then the bullies decide to go in after the doll.
I love this part, because they walk away, and Gribbs follows, and they're left alone, and he's like, let's get the doll? Let's get the doll. So he's in the bin, dumpster diving, his legs are poking out. I just hear screaming, and he pulls out, and the doll is attached itself to the front of his face.
Just on his face. That's another way of kind of getting around it, I mean, it works good. It works well in this situation because it's a kid's show, and it's a comedy. So it's okay if it's kind of funny that like fucking, Rabbit or whatever has a fucking doll glued to his face.
Yeah.
But again, we didn't see the movement.
No.
That's the important detail is he just comes up and the doll's just on it. Like a face hugger.
Yeah. I love the next bit because like the B story is very funny. Because the B story has now turned to Tony and Pete trying to work out what's going on with Bronson.
Yeah, they're curious, and Bronson won't come out of his room.
Yeah.
And
so they're baking.
Yeah.
They're baking one of his favorite foods.
Apple crumble.
And Pete's like, "Oh, it's done, Dad." And the really creepy tone. And Tony goes straight over, just puts his hand in the damn oven. Touches the damn...
hot.
Yeah. It's like,
then he gets,
good Lord.
Then he gets angry at himself because he's still thinking that like elements of what's going on with Bronson have to do with Faye.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I've got this, I've got that, I have trouble expressing my feelings. Then he screams, "Bronson, get down here!" And, so they're sitting there with the fucking apple crumble. And then, Linda goes into comes in. Fucking...
Wait, just before that, when they say that Bronson cannot resist the crumble, they sniff it. And they sniff it in a way that terrified me. It was a way too big inhale and look of pleasure at the same time. And it was, oh, God. I didn't like it.
Like a bus seat sniff.
But to this, Linda comes storming down, yelling... Oh, wait, no. I've skipped the whole bit. Never mind.
Linda came in sort of still like yelling about how she never wanted to see the doll again. Yeah. And then like after fucking they sniff the crumble, it cuts to Linda upstairs. And then Linda saying like, realizing that the Michael Jackson doll is gone, and she freaks the fuck out. And then meanwhile, Bronson is creeping downstairs like a, confused animal just trying to steal a little bit of food to survive.
And Pete starts doing it like an Attenborough
bit. And the best part is like they finally do to Bronson what I think they should have been doing just generally, and it's like they lure him down with the food, and meanwhile, like Tony's just hiding under the stairs, and the second Bronson gets between Tony and the stairs, Tony just springs out and grabs him, and it's like, yeah, this is just you just have to like fucking trap him like an animal and manhandle him, and then
Tony's like, you've been affecting Faye, and they pull off the sweater, and he's got his thing stuck, and he goes, because of things like this, and Bronson's like, no, it's not, and like. He's very defensive, and he's like, no, I glued myself. He's like, it's been like this for a day.
And then Linda gallops downstairs, demanding to know about the Michael doll, while Bronson
she yells. She comes down and yells, where's my Michael doll?
She's
very unhinged.
Yeah, she's lost her goddamn
To which
mind.
Bronson takes the opportunity, the momentarily shifting gaze, he starts inhaling that crumble.
Yeah, like...
He starts shoveling it down.
Just with his fist.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, how you might do that by getting, say, some in your hand and eating like how you might feed a horse. Like he's squeezing it to the point where apple crumbles erupting between his fingers, which is the worst way to do anything like that. It's just grotesque.
And I love this because this bit got really weird because Tony starts talking about how the doll's out of control. Because like...
Did he say that, or was it this doll talk or something like that is out of control?
I don't know.
Something to do like that.
I don't know, but he seemed very sympathetic to Linda about it.
He's just back and forward, back and forward.
But yeah, then the door knocks again, and she thinks it's going to be the doll. So she's like, I'm putting an end to this.
Yeah, she says she's back, and she's not happy, because there is a cuddle me from the door, but then she opens it, and...
It's Grips.
Yeah.
And he's got, like, some candy and, like...
Flowers,
stuff.
yeah. Gribble says that he can wait for cuddles.
And then the doll gets in.
Yeah, you hear brrr. And so Pete and Tony now are just like...
I love this, yeah, because she invites Grib inside.
And just Gribble just walks past. It's like Tony's got Pete's elbow, like with like he's got a foot up on, and he's trying to pull the finger out. Like
he's got his foot on Bronson's chest.
Yeah, Bronson.
Pete is holding him around his shoulders,
kind of a Nelson.
And he goes, "Oh, hello." Fucking killed me because it's a classic sight gag of character who's never really been in this place walks in,
inviting a friend over, and they just see what your family's like.
Yeah.
Kind of bit. So it's like, okay, could you guys be normal while I go to the door? And you get back in. I was like, oh, okay, thanks. You're just fucking, you're being this is emotional abuse.
So that's the B story going on. They try to pull him out, but they can't.
And so Linda hears a scream from upstairs and assumes it's to the doll, which is not an unfair assumption. And Gribble follows her upstairs, talking about why they should be together. Linda's room is trashed. Linda's now pretty much fucking deranged. Gribble is talking about how, nobody wants to be unhappy. And then Linda decides she's going to do a trap and goes, okay, looks like Veronique's not in here anymore. I guess I'll look somewhere else.
I love it because before that happened, she's talking about the doll, and Gribbs just goes, "The doll's alive?" And she screams, "Of course it's alive!" The ferocity is just because everyone's been questioning her this whole time, and she's just pissed at this point. The shit's been trashed.
If a doll trashed my room, I'd be upset. Of course it's alive.
Yeah, so she sets up the music box as a trap.
Yeah. And then when she leaves, the doll's above the door with an angry face.
The shot was so good.
Yeah. Surprise. Again, quality direction. Downstairs has Bronson and Tony and Pete are still trying. Pete slips, and the end result is Tony Irish whipping Bronson straight into the wall. Absolutely great. Just fucking wings him.
Tie him to a door.
Yeah, just wings him in there. And then Linda throws Gribble out, grabs a fucking pipe, the classic, long,
it's
the mayor's pipe. Oh, is it a hockey stick?
Yeah.
I thought it was a pipe.
No, it was a hockey stick.
It really looked like a pipe.
She took her sweater off and turned around and picked up a hockey stick.
The funny part is, the second she took her sweater off, my first thought was, going with the Sarah Connor tank top.
It looked like it, yeah.
Yeah, and then she said, "Hasta la vista, Dolly." And
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. It was kind of explicit.
And I love it because our B story is still rolling, and it's got Bronson's head in a sink.
Yeah.
And Tony goes, "Position 1, oil."
Oil.
And then they just pour oil over his face. And then they go, "Position 2, count." And then they count 3, 2, 1, and they pull this thing out. And Bronson's like, oh, safe. And Tony's like, I hope you've learned a lesson. And Bronson goes, I have learned a lesson. Glue's really good.
Yeah, it's some amazing glue.
He goes, this is the best glue in the world. And Tony's like, oh, don't worry about the glue. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't come back later.
So Linda heads upstairs and can hear Cuddle Me from within the room. She kicks the door open. Cuddle Me, the music box is still going. Cuddle Me comes from behind her. She turns around. The music box stops.
I like it because it's slowly winding down, getting slower and slower.
And I will say though, there's rather than actually, there's some digital zooms in this sequence, which are kind of weird.
It is weird.
I don't think they're bad exactly, because I think they actually weirdly fit the sort of mental unease
I think they
element.
just clash with the rest of the shots.
Yeah, it's just strange, all the rest of it considered. And then there's finally a more aggressive Cuddle Me from behind her. She turns around, gets her fucking hockey stick up, ready to pick a fucking, finally eliminate the doll now that it's got red eyes and
it's looking fucked.
Yeah, it's like at full murder. And then there's a guitar riff.
And we turn around and it's Michael Jackson.
Bronson's fixed him.
Gave him a tune up. And then the doll is making sex eyes at Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and it turns out this entire time the doll was upset that they'd separated her from the Michael Jackson doll because they'd been living together in a pile.
Yeah.
And that was what it was all about.
So
and we do get to see the Michael Jackson doll walk.
Ugh.
We don't see the fucking Veronique walk, which is weird, but we get to see the Michael Jackson doll walk, which is some awkward green screen and just strange.
So then everyone else shows up, and Faye's like, oh, I thought you were going to throw those two out long ago. And Linda's like, oh, I thought I'd hold on to them a little while longer. No, throw them out.
Yeah.
Do you not have the evil in your house?
You could just, put them in a shed. Yeah, they can be together, just not in the house.
Yeah.
And then Tony shows up with his finger stuck in his navel and one in his ear.
And he goes, I need some help. He's like, that glue does really work. And then it cuts on that.
Yep.
Because I like it because Tony's he's a character that doesn't have much as the other characters throughout the series. He's got his Tony tendencies that we tend to see him when he's in shots and scenes.
Yeah.
But we don't often get a very good measure of Tony as a character.
Well, that's a problem with this Tony.
Yeah.
Season 1 and 2, Tony was
he was more present.
Yeah, he was just a more defined character.
Yeah.
Whereas this Tony is just more of a role. He's kind of just whatever the moment needs, give or take. There's no real consistency precisely. Which I do think lets him down a bit. But there is just the side of a human being with a finger stuck in their navel and in their ear. Which is just, that's a good way to end a kid's show.
And it's also funny because it's anything you get upset at Bronson for, you just did yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that is disrupting your authority here, Tony.
He is your son. Yeah. You wonder why he's like that? Because you're like that.
It's you.
It's coming from inside the building.
But I mean, this was beyond the sort of just the obvious elements of the episode. When you think that this episode basically had two kind of lore elements in terms of the glue and the Viking Book of Love.
Which is now in Snapper's possession, by the way.
Yeah, a B story with the glue and a primary story, all of which worked together, sometimes even sort of reacted off of each other. The structuring of it is impressive. It is actually a really good fucking episode of fucking Round the Twist.
For a children's TV show, it was insane.
Yeah,
actual, the doll segments were strong on the horror scale.
I'm so surprised they didn't go for just wobbling doll on a stick.
No.
That's such a good choice to issue that, because it's what
That's what I mean. Espen came up and was like, I'm going to direct a horror episode. Yeah. And he delivered.
I'm doing a fucking horror. You can't stop me.
You can tell. You can tell the episode was done by someone who really had a very visually idea of the cinematography of what they were going to do. And it shows.
I mean, again, so many scary doll things wind up with thing on a stick going rah, 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 rah. And that it does. So for fucking of all things,
that's gonna be my new band's name.
Hello, we are thing on a stick.
Yeah.
Because again, for a like most things fall into this trap. For fucking of all things, round the twist to have the fucking nonce not to not to do it, like fucking amazing.
Yeah. Solid episode.
Yeah. No, this was a good episode. This is one of the good episodes of Round the Twist. So all right, now the scary part. I have to ask you, Amber, have you ever felt like this?
I'm gonna give you a preemptive no.
Fuck you. Have you ever had a beloved doll/figure? So it can either be a doll or like some kind of figurine or an action figure or whatever. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to do a big clean? Have you ever had any glue accidents? And last but not least, have you ever had an evil doll experience? So, have you ever had a beloved doll or figure? Did your dad beat you with it?
Look, I've had mostly plushes that I've had that with. Not really a doll or figure as much.
You didn't get that much in the way of action figures?
I had like a lot of little like the G.I. Joes and like crash test dummies.
Oh, I remember the crash test dummies. Fuck, that was weird.
Batman, a lot of that sort of stuff. There was definitely ones I favored more than others.
Such as?
Like I had a Power Rangers Green Ranger figure where you like flick the thing and their head spun around to have the helmet.
Oh yeah, the Morphin Power Ranger figurines.
Which was a really silly design because it had the golden breastplate which you clipped on. And if you did that, it would just burst off. It's very funny.
Yeah, it sort of didn't work with him.
No,
because it worked perfectly fine with everyone else.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I didn't really have much of a fixation. I don't think on any like one in like that to that degree. Again, mostly it was like plush things.
Right. What plush things did you have?
Like I had a bird that kind of looked like the bird from Donkey Kong Country.
Which bird from Donkey Kong Country?
Squawks.
Like the whatever
the parrot.
It is. Oh, the parrot. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like
I was thinking of the vulture.
Oh, not Necky. No. God, that would be sad.
Yeah. I had a fucking carrion eating vulture plush. That it was very sinister, but I liked it.
So yeah, it looked like the bird from Donkey Kong Country, and I loved the shit out of Donkey Kong Country.
Fair enough.
So it was like stuff like that.
All right. I mean, the funny thing is like these days I've probably got more action figures and shit today that I care about more than I ever did as a kid.
Yeah, well then answer it based on like.
Oh, I know. I'm going to. It's just I find that funny. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like it's just because action figures now are so much better, like miles and above fucking better. Like, when I was a little kid, I still to this day loved my fucking Gen 1 Transformers, but like there were some that were just really hard to get in Australia, and like particularly by the time by around 89, which was like 5 or 6 years deep into the the show, and it was like it was nearly impossible to find like a Megatron. Like, it was really easy to get Optimus Prime. It was, like, fucking impossible to get a Megatron. And so, like, I was always left to kind of imagine what a lot of them would look like. Because even by that stage, getting the sheets, the fold-out sheets that had all of them on it and shit, all of that was for, like, later stuff. So, like, that'd have headmasters and things on it, which were, kind of weird. But, like, then, like, finally, years later, when the internet was around and shit, you could, like, look them up and look at what they looked like, and you're like, oh, that looks like shit. Because, they didn't spend a lot of money on engineering or anything like that back then. They didn't try. And a lot of these, particularly the early ones, were like figures from like one of two completely separate toy lines that they just kind of turned into Transformers. So like fucking Ratchet and Ironhide, the toy line they came from, they were mechs that had a pilot.
Right.
And so the figurines you got, if you ever fucking bought the Transformers, didn't have heads. They didn't look they did not look one single thing at all like the fucking characters in the cartoon. And Megatron had a giant trigger penis that nobody looked at and thought we could put that in the back. You know, we could just have a fucking pivot here and we could turn him around and the trigger could stick out his back as opposed to just, you know, trigger penis. Like, it was just hanging out the fucking front. You know, now you get like the fucking, you know, probably the fucking Hasbro's best work MP36, which is the masterpiece scale fucking Megatron. And he turns into the gun, and he turns into a fucking G1 accurate Megatron, and he looks fucking amazing in both fucking forms. And you can get one of those. I mean, shit, if you get like a KO of the fucking masterpiece, I'd recommend looking around for a Toy House factory version because it's a bit better. But you can get a KO of that for like $100, and it actually looks like the cartoon and doesn't have a big weird functioning penis that you can play with.
So wait, I got lost in this too much Transformers discussion. Which one's your favorite?
Or
have you not even got to that yet?
But probably
you went on a tangent. This is now the Transformers Toys podcast.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, like it's that thing where like now you can actually get figures that look like what they fucking look like.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And that matters so much more than just, you know, because there are a lot of people who'd like the original of things, like
which I can understand. Yeah. I definitely understand the nostalgia.
But I mean, like even that for like GI Joes, like GI Joes had articulation. Like there was a lot you could do with GI Joes, even in the retro ones. But like, in no universe do I want like a Gen 1 fucking you know Ratchet. Megatron or Ratchet because they're just shite. They're fucking nonsense. So now I can spend like $200 to $300 and get something that has been engineered by like Chinese autistics. And it was fucking fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I have a large collection of those, and it's wonderful. Yeah. And God bless the Chinese autistics.
And which one's your favorite?
It's kind of tough.
Which one sparks the most joy? Which one do you look at it and go, whoa, I'm glad that thing exists and I have it on my shelf?
Honestly, it's probably like a tie between MP36 because it's really, really fucking good. And it really brings that fucking cartoon image of Megatron to life. The Fans Toys Galvatron, which does the same but for like fucking, Megatron's
Galvatron sounds like a Daft Punk album.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been a song. It might have been a Daft Punk B-side.
Probably.
But that was Galvatron was Megatron after he got reborn by and so he was just crazy. It's funny because they actually do make that distinction in the show. Like Megatron was like evil, but he had goals. And Galvatron was just like, I was fucking evil. I'm just here for the evil. They actually took him to a planet one time that was meant to like cure him. It was just like this whole planet was like a therapy planet, and it would put insane people in cages that it grew. Right. It was a really strange episode now that I come to think about it again. And then the other one would probably be one of the Magic Square Masterpiece Scale
Optimus. I thought
Optimus.
it was a Magic School Bus.
No, some of the because it's a lot of them are made in China, right? Yeah. And so they just kind of like auto translate or poorly translate some of these things. So like one of the companies is called Magic Square. I don't really know why. I think maybe because they might have started making knockoff Rubik's cubes or something like that. But they have a Masterpiece Scale Optimus Prime that's just fantastic. Like the plastic they use really has that kind of cartoon vibrancy to it. It just really helps it across the line. But like there was one company that like, made knockoffs and it was called Deformed Automan. And I'm fucking obsessed with that. Yeah, like transformation, you'll see this a lot when you read about him, is transformation from English to Chinese tends to get tangled up with deformation. And so you'll see that you'll see deform as opposed to transform, which I find fucking fascinating. But I mean, yeah, man, like my Masterpiece Scale Transformers, they're fucking great. Like, if I had to do it all again, I might, collect the sort of smaller legend scale ones, but I just can't say no to that fucking size. Someone's actually gone to the trouble of making a Masterpiece Scale Metroplex, like, the old city one. It's 4.5 feet tall.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like, you can make it fight a toddler. So far, there's only some, dummy ones made, some, ones that, the factory has sort of, made just single versions of to see if it's a test run. Someone's got, 3D printed ones made. And I'm super duper tempted to try that, but it's involved. You'd be printing parts for months to get it fucking assembled. But
what was the second question?
Have you ever had to do a big clean?
I mean, I have been living on my own, out of home since 17. So
When I was 17, I did a very big clean.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, when you move, you clean.
Yeah.
Because, like, you want your money back.
Yeah. Are there any noteworthy, like, your phone, like, you're cleaning something out and you're like, oh, fuck, look at that, or you find, like, a fucking orange you forgot?
The big clean I remember, and I count moving as cleaning.
Yeah.
Is that time we moved house, and you helped me move, and we got to go through that big storage container of the dead ladies things.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And because you just came out of it going, hey, look at this, and then planted this giant fuck off Dynasty Warriors style umbrella weapon into the ground.
It was like one of those ones that you'd see in, like, some wealthy white lady sitting under in Egypt in 1925 or something. Like, it was, I think there's photos of me with it still. They're
on Facebook.
Just like this big yellow parasol at the end of a strangely long pole.
Yeah. So that time, because that was a treasure of a day, because we were so fucking tired, because we moved a lot of shit and a lot of heavy stuff, and there was one moment where I went, hey, watch this, and everyone turned around, and I was already in the air, jumping down a driveway that had like an 80% incline.
Oh yeah, no, this was one of the steepest driveways I've ever seen, and like you've just decided to do like a
catapulted into the air, the Mario 64 long jump.
Yeah, the full long jump, legs out the front, because you were jumping onto a bit of like cardboard, and we're gonna ride like bobsled down the fucking hill. Now the thing is though, this because this is like a driveway, the hill is like covered in this like gravel. It's like not just your standard shitty gravel. This was like, I don't know, hydrophobic or some shit. Like it gripped.
It's to prevent your car from rolling down on very steep driveways.
Or just sliding.
Well,
like,
anything,
so it's designed to grip. And so I turn to my left and just watch you commit knee suicide. Because your heels hit the ground and I watch the force go up into your knee. I watch the bit of cardboard not move one fucking millimeter. Just not even a scooch. And you just went, brrr,
and my knees went backwards for a second. Yeah. that was a good day.
It was so lucky that was at the very end of the day, too, because, like...
Oh, it's fucked.
Yeah, like, you were walking... Like, you had to, like, fucking, Frankenstein walk around because you couldn't really bend your knees, so you had to, like, just kind of wobble like a kid wiggling an action figure.
Yeah, look, right? It's not the smartest sometime, okay?
That was so fucking funny. Like, I've done a lot of big cleans as well, just for the fucking moving thing. And, like, I remember the last one kind of fucking eventually did me in, because I was just so tired and annoyed by the end of it. And this is the point now. It's like, no, I'm just going to pay the fucking $200 and get some cunt to do it. Because, I mean, like, I did the thing that made the last one fucking survivable was, like, doing upstairs took fucking forever. Because it was one of these old places with really high fucking ceilings and shit. And so just every fucking where that you didn't touch normally was really dusty. And it just meant everything had to be fucking, like, goddamn reached. You couldn't get a good angle on it. Some of it was, like, kind of stuck, so you had to have a fucking thing. And it was just every fucking thing was a fucking hassle. But then I did the downstairs just with a pressure washer. Mm-hmm. And I had my headphones in, and I had like my all fucking Dragula Rob Zombie mix.
Heck yeah.
Was just listening to that and just spraying with the pressure washer. I was like, that.
Dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slam in the back of my Dragula.
Just watching the high pressure water just clean all of it away.
That actually sounds like a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, but again, by the end it was, but like I just, like, and everyone I lived with is a half-wit, and it's just, you're not cleaning this right, and it's just, you gotta dust it from head to toe, and then they'd nod like they understood language, but they were just like a dog trying to get a stick through a door.
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever had any glue accidents?
Oh, I've glued my fingers together, like when I'd be doing glue stuff, but nothing I would call an accident.
Just
nothing to
glue stuff.
Like, like if you get a tiny little bit, it like gets a little sticky. Not like a whole daub and going, oh no, like
yeah,
just regular stuff when you're dealing with glue.
See,
I can't think of any incidents.
You never glued something to something else, not necessarily you. Because, like, I mean, I
glued a wound shut one time.
I've never tried that. I've been tempted to.
I don't recommend it.
But yeah. Because I've just, like, they have spray-on Band-Aid.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just use that, and I figure that's, like, probably better.
Don't know, absolutely.
Than just glue.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been in a point where I think, I better glue that shut. Because most of the time I'm just like, I'll just walk it off.
I just cut myself when I was high once, and I was like, oh no.
It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, better glue it.
I'm bleeding. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not doing anything, just looking at it.
Just looking at it.
Because, like, I remember realizing when models weren't for me. And it was just like, yeah, I can't. Like, although there's one of those situations where subsequently, like, I've gotten a little glue thing, and that came with it was a brush.
Oh yeah.
So it was, and that makes super gluing shit together easier.
Yeah.
Because if you ever try to deal with those tubes of super glue, it's like you get the thing, you puncture it, and then you squeeze it, nothing happens for ages.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, is it coming out? And then you squeeze it again, and then suddenly it just ejaculates fucking super glue all over what it was you were trying to do. You can't really clean it off exactly because now stuff's gluing to it.
It's non-salvageable.
Yeah, and that's annoying. With a brush, you can apply like a little bit of glue where you require it, and probably do that. But also, I don't want to glue models together. It just upsets me, and like that may be because I had like bits of models stuck to me, and But that was Dad explaining, like, all right, you can glue your fingers together, but like it doesn't work like cartoons. Like you're not going to be there forever because skin just comes off.
I have ADHD, and I do not want to spend my time doing minute actions with my fingers.
Like, it's funny because there are things that I wind up doing now that are in that vein. But, like, it's that thing of the pills again. The pills let me go, okay, and then I can just
I don't have no medicine.
stuff. Yeah.
My mind is like a walking time bomb.
Yeah. No, like, that was, yeah. It's literally only since taking the pills that I've been able to, like, accomplish physical goals.
Fun fact, every single Marvel vs. Capcom tournament I've won, I've been medicated.
Yeah. It makes me better at fucking video games. I will 100% say that. Mm-hmm. But like, because you can actually lock in.
Yeah. As
opposed to like be playing a video game and also just thinking about 4 other things at once, and then trying to come back to it, and then like just getting tangled up in your own fucking completely busted up thought process.
That's great.
Because like, with a 3D printer, like, because I bought like the VHS Morph figure.
Oh yeah.
But it comes with like the old head from like the original 90s X-Men series. But like you can download like
Traumatized Morph.
Yeah, there's Happy Morph and Traumatized Morph. But I wanted like the new X-Men 97 head.
Yeah.
So I've 3D printed one of those.
Right.
And like I got like the fucking 4mm nozzle and like a real fine like printer setting. And it's fucking amazing. Like it just prints, it's like, oh yeah, look at that, it's fucking Morph. And then you get the little sander and you sand away some of it and you spray it. And I'm still trying to get the specific gray of his head though.
Oh
right?
yeah.
That is fucking frustrating color to get down. Because I swear to fuck, it's like slightly different in like just different scenes and stuff. And I can't get a good idea of it because of lighting. And I got like a good render of him that I try to base it on. But like, fuck, it's been such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And then there are little details that I just can't do because I'm not good at like detail painting.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, there's, I've been able to do those. But like, sometimes there's glue involved. And there's like a new kind of super glue that is really good because it's actually like rubbery a little.
Can I glue my parents' marriage back together?
Fucking possibly. Because like I feel like this could successfully glue a butthole shut.
Whoa.
Yeah, because like it sticks to baking paper. Like that's its big like like
what kind of devil sorcery is this?
Legitimately, it's like fucking 2 years old, this glue formulation. It's like E6100 or some shit. It's like E600
I'm
some
36
shit like that.
and they're still coming up with new glue.
There's new glue.
There's new glue.
Yeah.
There's hope.
And because it's like, because super glue dries very hard, but like because of that it's brittle. Like you can like snap it. Because this has a bit of yield to it, it makes it stick so much better because it'll actually absorb some stresses as opposed to just going the second like you fucking piss it off.
Yeah.
That glue does kind of worry me. It's also one of those ones where the second you smell it, you're like, oh yeah, this needs a well-ventilated space. This is not like well-ventilated as a suggestion. This is, I gotta do this.
Give it a month and I'll have the kids on it and TikTok sniffing it.
Like, shit'll probably happen. I mean, I don't know what, because I'm not a huffer, but I know when something shouldn't be huffed, and if that's the fucking benchmark for fun, then hey,
God.
you're fucking good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about the worst. I remember hearing like one of my cousins apparently like fucking just something to do with glue in his eyeball.
Oh no!
This is like something I remember hearing my aunt talk about, and so I can't really. I never got the chance to follow up on precisely what happened, but I'm pretty sure he just got some in his eye or some shit like that, which would have fucking sucked. But yeah, the worst I did was glue some like fucking Gundam parts to myself.
Right.
And that's how I learned about the skin.
Yeah.
Because Dad had to go. It's fine. It'll just give it a second. It'll just come right off. Have you ever had any evil doll experiences?
One.
Excellent.
You remember Godly?
Yeah.
So, the way I met Godly was I was friends with Godly's brother first.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and anyway, I think it was Godly's brother's 21st, I believe, or something around that. I had gotten really drunk.
Yeah.
I can't remember where they lived, but they had a big shed. They had the party in the big shed outside the house. I had gotten really drunk. I was very energetic. Back then, I was very thin, and I like to move when I'm drunk.
I like to move it.
Yeah.
Move it.
So I'd been dancing and shit all night, carrying on. And I passed out in their living room.
Carrying on is such a good term for it.
I had woken to a wall of dolls.
That is fucking great.
And because, like, their mother, I believe, had a thing for dolls.
And it's those creepy old lady dolls.
Yeah, porcelain ones and stuff like that. And, like, a whole range of them just covering a wall in front of me. To which I woke up and went, I am far too hungover to deal with this right now. I'm opting to leave this room. That's my only, I think, really evil doll experience.
I haven't had an evil doll experience. However, I did commit an evil doll experience. Because when I was, like, I think you were there for the first lot, and, like, the second lot I found at, like, one of the Bribey Island
yes,
secondhand stores. Because, like...
Well, this is an experience for me, too, partly.
Yeah. Because, like, the Bribey Island, if you, like, a good secondhand store needs to be in a place where lots of people die. Because that's where you get, like, the fucking estate shit. Like, people who didn't, like, stuff from people who weren't aiming to sell it.
I really want to visit the one up the road at some point, because it's called a bazaar. And I'm like, if anything is interesting, it'll be in there.
It will be, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
But, because, like, a lot of them these days will be, like, especially cash converters are basically just tarted up. But, like, if you go into a place and it smells like dust, it's like, all right, you're going to find some shit in here. And a lot of them will have these fucking dolls. And we found a place, one that was selling them for, like, $5 a piece. And one of my housemates had just casually mentioned, like, some weeks before that he didn't like scary dolls. And so, unbeknownst to him, we decided to buy dolls. And then I proceeded to hide the dolls around his room. And,
Who was that?
It's Cormac.
Oh.
Yeah, it was...
I did not know she did not like dolls either. Interesting.
Yeah. No, because, like, the dolls were her thing. The clowns were technically Chris's. But Chris also didn't like the dolls.
I see.
So it was more clowns with Chris, but he was just also made uncomfortable by the presence of small Victorian.
Excellent. So that was a twofer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we wound up working really well. Because then when I was on Bribey Island, I found a place that was selling for like they were just trying to get rid of these fucking things. And it was just $1 a piece. And it's like, look, I'll buy fucking creepy Victorian dolls for $1 a piece. And yeah, just like, went to the back of the cupboard and shit and like, tucked them in there. So when you're going through stuff and then there's just suddenly this little doll just staring at you.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's a lot.
I did hear like the, ah!
Yeah, that's good.
It's my favorite thing is just hearing it. Because nothing can match that like unknown element, I wonder where all those dolls went, actually.
They
escaped into the New Farm
to
suburbs.
The doll underground. New ground, fucking new. What's this? What's the suburb?
New Market.
Was it New Market or New Farm?
I think it was New Farm.
Yeah, New Farm is
New Farm's
notorious
near the valley
for having a doll underground. Gotta be careful.
We almost bought a goat there, and it's funny because we were thinking about just giving the goat away if we got bored of it, and we were like, we could probably just let it loose in New Farm and it'd be fine. It'd just be like, oh yeah, it's the New Farm goat. People at cafes feed it.
I'm upset you didn't buy the goat.
You don't. The wild thing is like, I really feel like this is a loophole that needs to be closed.
Yeah.
Because for $80 with very few questions asked, a guy would come to your house with a goat and leave it. And you're allowed to have one cow in like just a suburban Brisbane yard. Because if one alone does not count as livestock. If you have two cows, problem. But you can have one cow.
Okay.
And the goat came about as we didn't want to mow the backyard.
I remember that, but the goats eat the roots and then nothing grows.
Yeah, then nothing grows. And also then you've just also got a goat.
Yeah.
And it's been my experience that they're kind of cunty little creatures.
Oh, they're not nice.
Okay. So now we have the fucking... The dread experience of... I wonder if we'll meet more deck children this week.
Come to us, deck children.
I really want to see some deck child art. I just imagine these two little red eyes peeking out from under the deck. The best part was like, he commented on the stream. The door wasn't locked. He just went under the deck for some... I know. Like it was a decision that he made and didn't question.
Truly, Satan had lured him to the deck side.
When he was just happy to be not in the
I guess. Look, I guess.
I just, because my brain was trying to translate it into human thought. So I was like, all right, so maybe the might have been
I want to make a t-shirt that just says, yes, I am a deck child.
The children under the decks. Okay.
Deck child would be a good band name too.
It would be. Okay, it could be kind of cyberpunk. Hello, Mr. Twister and Sister Twister. It's Rob the Axling again. Have you ever failed an important test? It wasn't an important one. Fantastic.
Good.
But odd all the same. There was some assignment for New Step I was meant to do, but whenever I sat down to do it, my brain just said no, like trying to force two positive magnets together. I knew the material, but come time to put pen to paper, I mentally couldn't, for no discernible reason, before giving up and doing something else. Look up what New Step is.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Capital N, capital S, one word. Even shutting off all distractions and sitting there by myself, I couldn't do it. By the time I was able to push through it, it was well past the due and received mark of 0.
Is this person from Australia?
I don't know.
Apparently New Step is a...
It feels like a government thing.
Study. It was a pathway program offered to the University of Newcastle prior to 2022.
Maybe.
Damned
if I know what that was about, but it certainly put me off tertiary if that was looking about. I thought Gabe might have an opinion given similar sounding stories with his ADHD. I mean, it literally does sound like ADHD.
I mean, yeah.
Have you ever been stuck in a storm? You asked this way back when I sent in my first email, so instead of that, I thought I would answer Gabe's earlier question of why my family had so many axes. So back when I was half of nothing, my family bought a house out in sizzling rift of rural suburban Australia.
Oh yeah, so maybe it is Newcastle.
This was an old 2-bedroom miner's cottage, roughly 100 years old, that should have either been torn down or given to the National Trust, instead of the maniac that was my father. Cue an untold number of unapproved additions, outbuildings, and renovations by my old man with my siblings and I as labor. That's fucking hilarious. I laugh at this person, but I've probably, rented this place. Because, some of the places I've lived in have absolutely... You can see where there's, the inner house, and then just extra houses grown around it. And it's, made from completely different materials and shit. While this place didn't have hot water or showers to begin with, I firmly remember having to bathe in one of those clamshell pools whilst hot water was boiled on the stove. It did, however, by some strange providence, have a gas line and heater. You'd think this would have been great, not having to go through the ordeal of my unqualified father DIY plumb himself in a hot water heater. Fuck no, gas costs money. Let's just install a second-hand fireplace and poach timber from the bushland instead. Of course, once you've gone out and stolen yourself a tree every weekend, you need to then cut it up and fit it into the fireplace. That meant the unpaid child laborers that were my brother and I splitting up blocks of timber, and hoo boy did we go through a bit. Not least because my dad had an undiagnosed thyroid problem and would pile on wood like a madman in an attempt to feel warm. Now, one of the things about cutting timber with an axe is that you mash up the bit of the handle near where it slots into the head. You'll swing the axe into the timber, but because Australian timber is spiteful shit, it won't split apart neatly. Rather, the axe will bite in, but the stringy grain of it will hold the block together, causing wear on the handle eventually where it comes in contact. So it breaks up, and now you're left with a useless lump of steel. You could put a new handle in that thing, but it ended up being cheaper to just buy a new complete axe. So lo and behold, after over a decade, there was quite a collection of these old things, because my old man never threw anything away, in the corner of the shed, augmented by a collection of smaller axes designed for splitting up kindling. But the theme of this podcast is Schadenfreude, so let me relate the tale of how I fucked up my foot cutting wood. So it was late one winter's evening when I bring up a load of firewood for the night in the wheelbarrow. I unload everything and ready to go sit down and boot up the PC, when my dad, whoever, demands I go back. There's too many of this type of tree, and these bits are too big, and where's that recent stuff, which should be more cut up? There's just something about coming into the house with firewood and then talking about going to sit on the PC, which is just kind of weird to me, you know? Like, it's just... Those are two different eras of stuff. Like, I went out and shot a rabbit for dinner, and then I played Overwatch. It's like, I don't think you're allowed to do those two things at once. That's just weird. So I load everything back up, put some thongs on, and head back 200-odd meters to where the firewood is kept. It's late, the sun's going down, and this new timber he wants more of is a prick to split. So cue some bigger and more wild swings and actually dent this crap. Yeah, like, that's the thing about Australian wood, is, like, there's a kind of tree here called ironbark, and it's called that for a reason. And the rest of it is, like, weird and, like, you know, it holds itself together in ways that is slightly peculiar. It doesn't just harden into this thing you can wallop and then it just is like, here you go, have a log.
Oh, I thought it was that because, like, I thought every time you cut the tree, it screamed like Michael Ironside.
You know, if there was a place in the world to have a tree that screamed, it would be here.
It would be here, yeah.
This goes okay for about 5 minutes until the axe comes down, bounces off the block, and keeps moving towards me. I can't sidestep this, but with years of experience, I twist the grip so the blunt end of the axe goes careening into my exposed foot. Could be worse, eh? Well, this was a splitting maul, an axe that looks and weighs like someone sharpened one side of a sledgehammer. My foot by the next day had swollen up, and the rough black part of the axe had broken my skin. But despite my limping, because there wasn't a bruise, I still had to go to school, which meant I walked 2 kilometers each way across the undulating side of the hill the town was on. My foot didn't get better until a fortnight later. I've still got a scar from where it broke the skin, and to this day, that foot seems a bit more troublesome than the other. Nowadays, I don't have anything to do with any of that bullshit, and I just buy proper warm clothing to get through the mild Australian winter.
Crazy.
I hope that answered one of my mystery, and I look forward to the next episode.
Thanks.
Like, firewood. You know? Like, especially living in Brisbane, where the coldest it gets is sort of cold. Like, you know what my winter preparation was for this year? I bought those little grippy socks that you wear in hospital. I bought a bunch of them from Amazon. It was like, I have around-the-house socks now. And that's just to stop my toes from going purple.
Yeah.
And I only do that because I worry about the rest of my fucking, you know, circulation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Otherwise, I'm as hot as I need to be. You know? I'm warm-blooded. I'm just still... Imagine chopping firewood, like, finally getting your firewood chores done, and then you go inside to play fucking, you know, Team Fortress 2. It's such a wild thing to me. Like, this one could be chopping firewood and have a tablet.
Yeah. That doesn't compute.
Okay, I have felt like this. Brainless. Hello, Amber and Gabe. Rob again. Or if this is my third email in a row, this fucking prick. More reminiscences from the grey blur that is my life.
Look, if you keep sending us mail, you're going to have to stop paying us.
Ever did a science project for school. So in year 10, we got to do a science project for our own choosing. Owning a few bows, I chose to compare which one shot the farthest. I wasn't what you'd call a hobbyist archer, more like some redneck teenager who had a few second-hand guns, except transplanted into the sizzling rural suburban rim of regional Australia. My teacher was okay with it going ahead, but advised it should only be done at an archery range. Fuck that, I lived on an acre block and had been backyard shooting for about 3 years. Safe as houses, eh? It went off without a hitch, but in retrospect, this was like some of Nelson Muntz's wasting squirrels with BB guns as far as science went. It was, yes. Ever had a remote-controlled toy? Sure, I had one of those flippable ones, which was great, since I really liked the PS1 game, Roll Cage. You remember Roll Cage?
Mm-mm.
Which you should totally do a versus video with. And we should. Play Roll Cage. Ever had to do chores? See last email about being free labor for my maniac dad.
Oh, I'm looking at it. I've played that, yes.
Yeah, it rings a bell with me. Because kind of, is it a racing game or a battle game? Because I think it's got both.
I think it's both. It was made by, it was published by Psygnosis. Psygnosis, yeah.
Yeah, Psygnosis.
Psygnosis.
Fucking Owlball. which really, as a company, was just a terrific box art company for like 15 years. I've put together house frames, put up drywall, painted walls, dug and leveled foundations, mixed cement, stole bush sand for said cement. That's amazing. Broke apart concrete slabs and numerous other odd jobs that have escaped my memory from the age of 6. It's like your dad making you paint the house, but like just every day. I mean, on the plus side, I bet this person could probably assemble a reasonably good house. Like, it mightn't be up to code in every respect, but I reckon you could live in it. The worst would probably be anything to do with roofing, since I have a phobia of heights, and especially shaky ladders. This was particularly bad, as my dad would yell at me like a teamster to do this shit. Enough that once I went catatonic after being abused to stay on top of the sketchy scaffolding. But apparently this is okay, since his dad threw hammers at him if he didn't think he was moving fast enough. Your granddad was a hammer brother. Picture him standing on scaffolding.
Yeah.
And then, like, just an angry dad throwing hammers, but every now and then he jumps up onto the first level of the scaffolding. That is fucking amazing. Some weird Adelaide hammer brother just hurling fucking mallets at his kids. Ever had something serious happen to your head? When I was 12 and following the worst flu I've had in my life, even worse in the case of pneumonia I've recently had, I came down with Bell's palsy. Yeah, that sucks. This is some embuggerance that causes half of one's face to become paralyzed and insensate, not unlike having a stroke. I had to wear an eye patch and take eye drops, as I couldn't close one eye or even blink as well as I have to drink as well. I also had to drink through a straw, as one half of my mouth wouldn't close. It went away, but my facial muscles have atrophied during the interim, and I needed to do physiotherapy to fully regain them. The problem was I had the expressive qualities of a brick, and thought pulling faces in the mirror was retarded. This seems to have bit me on the arse, as that side of my face is a bit stiffer than the other, and seems to be the reason that one eye is markedly worse. But wait, there's more. This relates to me getting hit particularly hard in the head. That's so fucking funny, because I really thought that was going to be it. I figured getting, like, the flu so bad you got a palsy would be enough brain damage.
Yeah.
But I suppose we're going to, like, hammer brother this shit. This was funny, and then it was kind of sad, and now it's circled all the way back around to kind of like Millhouse funny. This is getting into Millhouse territory. So at one of the reenactment events I go to, there's this combat event called Murder Road. You and 50-odd guys trying to fight through the other team of another 50-odd guys in this narrow road barely wide enough for 10. It's effectively an Osthemos-like scrum, as the cramped space cancels out any fancy footing or clever flanking, i.e. my strong points. Anyhow, I'm in the front line, shield hugged my body so someone with a spear doesn't turn me into a castrati, whilst the spearman reaching over my shoulder does the hard work. Then, thunk, someone slams a two-handed axe through the sword I'm guarding my head with and into my helmet, sending me stumbling dazedly towards the sideline. They've managed to hit me hard enough through a 14-gauge thick helmet, the internal padding, the suspension liner, and the arming cap to give me a mild concussion. I don't think you should be wielding an axe like that at a thing. Because that could have easily just been in your brain. Normally you're meant to report stuff like this to the marshals, who are meant to police safety, but when you can't remember who did it or from a coherent thought, that's kind of hard. Now, where this gets interesting is that this may have been responsible for the cataract-like fissure in my eyes, as particularly hard strikes can apparently cause that. You're probably sick of me by now, so goodbye to Brisbane's finest About the Twist podcast.
Look, you keep showing up with stories about being a moron, I'll keep listening.
I mean, at the moment, in like a paragraph, it's gone from Millhouse to Rickety Cricket. Because that's what I'm picturing now.
Yeah. Rickety Millhouse.
And it's funny because his dad built rickety houses.
I like choked on my damn water.
It's just deck children and human tragedies.
It's lovely.
This oh god.
Every time I look at myself in the mirror, I feel a little down, and I remember about the deck children. I'm like, life's good. I am not a deck child.
Little red eyes peeking out from under the deck.
That's just Vern Troyer.
There's feral Vern Troyers in Australia. You shouldn't have imported them. That's good God. Like that's. I can sort of feel that. I can feel that energy of like you being taken like you're a kid and it says, here's where we live now. And it's like this fucking miner's cottage, which is like a quaint Australian term we have for like barely
It's
hospitable.
the start of an Australian TV series.
There is that in this, I think. Just your granddad was a hammer brother. That being just a small detail.
Yeah,
Just fucking hammers coming out like.
I can imagine it. That's how you get positive trauma. You just layer over the fucking theme and you're good.
No, it's just like it's just a funny memory.
It's a good time.
And just like visually, I'm trying to picture what this poor entity looks like, and I'm getting like either Cricket or that like Chihuahua that was blind and like had epilepsy. Like the idea of like I've got like half Bell's palsy face, a cataract from getting hit in the head. I'm wearing armor. I think he might be a Dark Souls. Like one of the, people you talk to is just kind of hanging around. And then if you don't, go through some kind of really abstract, unsignaled series of quest behaviors, he winds up hollow by the end.
Ugh.
It's kind of tragic, really. Well, that's the tragic fate of old Rinkhouse. If you think that you can match the heart-rending tragedy that is Rinkhouse, send your emails to ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com. That's all lowercase. I have felt like this, no spaces or anything, @yahoo.com. And answer these questions. Have you ever had a beloved doll or figure? Have you ever had to do a big clean? Have you ever had any glue accidents? And last silly question, have you ever had an evil doll experience? Send your answers to ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com and see if you can beat the Deck Child and Rickety House for things that make us sad long after we finish recording.
Some days I just sit here and think, damn.
It's true.
It puts life into perspective.
Just Rickety Cricket in armor. It does. It's great for perspective. This is good for that. Okay, I've been Gabriel Twist.
I am unfortunately Amber Twist.
And this has been Ever Felt Like This. Goodbye.